for the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting since May the 8th, 2024. It is 6:37 p.m. and a quorum is present. We have alternates, Neela and Orion in place 3 and place 4. Alternate Orion. Appreciate it. Right there, that's fine. All right, for public comments, non-agenda items, comments will be taken from the audience on non-agenda related topics for length of time not to exceed 3 minutes per minute. That's the white card. And the yellow card, comments will be taken from the audience on non-agenda and agenda items combined for a length of time not to exceed 5 minutes total per person on all items, except for public hearings. Comments on public hearing items must be made when the item comes before the commission and not to exceed 2 minutes per person. No action or discussion may be taken during public comments on non-agenda items. All right. We have Mr. Robert Bataille.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. My name is Robert Bataille. I have some disappointing news over the Manor-Palooza thing. Where were you guys? We had a booth there that was talking about Manor's, quote, new downtown. They had this little business card here. It says right here, we welcome your input on the current downtown plan. Well, how come you didn't tell us anything about it? The reason you didn't is because you're so embarrassed and horrified for it. This is what they want for Parsons Street. So of course you didn't show that. People would have been horrified. This is some more nonsense in the comprehensive plan. We didn't see this either. They call these dashboards. Nobody voted on that. This is what they're using to destroy our downtown. You didn't do anything to show this picture either. This is something you guys destroyed. I blame you guys for destroying this. This was 104 East Towns. That was a historic building. That wasn't a tear down. That was a restoration. That was named after, it was the Norwood family. He was the postmaster general here in town in 1893 to 97. You tore that down. The builder pretended he was going to never tear it down. He lied to the owner. But I blame you guys. I think one of you voted against that townhome zoning. That just shows utter insanity. And I'm really tired of having to baby you people. I've told you how to become a commission for like 1.5 years or 2 years. You guys still want to be Scott Dunlap's little personal committee. You can't even get email addresses. You can't set your own agendas. You don't have your own secretary. You proactively do exactly nothing. I think you believe this little slogan that the school district likes to put out. 90% of success is showing up. That's not true. But you guys think you're a success because you show up. I have about 10 items I'd like to talk to on here today. But you go along with this council bunch of baloney that we can only talk for 2 minutes on agenda items if you've got 10 of them. That got thrown out of court. The Austin City Council, that got thrown out. It's not fair. It's discriminatory. And it's total BS. You know, we're talking about millions of dollars worth of stuff. I want to talk about all these. This should be 2 evenings. Why don't you guys meet 2 times a month? Huh? And as you know, I'd like to have you get a stipend. I think also this nonsense about having substitute commissioners is ridiculous. You had a quorum. Why do you need to stack the deck with their favorite appointees? Mr. Neela is the husband of one of our council members. I think that's a flagrant violation of the nepotism rules. So, there's a lot of things in here. Some are on public hearings. Some of these Shadow Glen subdivision, parkland trails, they were supposed to have 3 or 4 miles of trails by now. Instead, they have one secret park, and you guys don't even want to tell us where it is. You can't even name it in the comprehensive plan that you approved. You know it's a lie, and you still won't stop it. In there, it says it's Shadow Glen open space. It's not Shadow Glen. It's Woodlands Park. It's been a City of Manor park since 2003. How many cities have a 200-acre park that's completely secret? And they pretend we can't park there. That's another lie that's in the plan. Those are public roads. We can park anywhere we want to. I don't give a hoot if Shadow Glen can't park there. That's part of their HOA deal. That's not their park. It's our park. Some people on this board actually said with a straight face they wanted us to park half a mile away from that trail at Shadow Glen Elementary. Why would you want to park half a mile from a trail and walk down a bunch of concrete paths in front of identical looking subdivision houses? Manor is a historic district, and we count on you guys to stand up for the people. Unfortunately, the city staff is like this malignant cancer that's telling the people what they want instead of listening to the people. It's not just the council. It's not just the Planning and Zoning Commission. It's the city staff that's the worst people. And they've hired all these bean dead planners that don't even know we need a new downtown in the center of the ETJ. This little street here, it's not big enough for the Performing Arts Center's parking lot. We need to wake up, man. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Agenda item number 1, conduct a public hearing on the rezoning application for one lot on 0.26 acres, more or less, and being located at 310 West Maury Street, Manor, Texas, from single-family suburban to neighborhood business. We have the applicant here also. All right. Mr. Robert Bataille.
Thank you. I don't know if the owner is here. Carrie Lou, Texas Realty. This is what we want. This is something good. This is what we want. Neighborhood business. Ideal is a person lives in that house and that's her realty business. That's what the scale of us Old Manor is. Old Manor runs from the river to the railroad tracks to 290. Unfortunately, in this comprehensive bogus plan that we spent $318,000 on, 605 pages that you guys cannot even read or proofread, they call Lexington a commercial corridor. It's not a commercial corridor, is it? No. This is historic Main Street. So whenever anyone refers it to you as downtown, you need to stop them. This is historic Main Street. It's not a downtown anything. So neighborhood business is a wonderful category. We've had 3 or 4 other people go for that category, but you keep wanting to let these live, work, play boxes in here, and you want to call it downtown business. That's where you are delusional. You are subdivision dwellers. You need to take that sort of zoning and that mentality on the north side of 290. That's where the downtown goes. And stop messing with that. This is a good thing. I hope you will approve it. Thank you.
Scott, go ahead.
So this property, it is in between the Manor ISD like police building and Mr. Jim's, if you're familiar with that, right off there on 290. It used to be the Malaysia Law Office. It is zoned single family. I'm not sure why. That's like the zoning that was applied when the city got zoning like 25 years ago. It was a law office before the city regulated land uses like that. The new owner, for the realty, they would like to have their real estate office in there and also expand additional office uses. So neighborhood business provides for that. It allows for office and what they're looking to do with the building and also what it was historically used as. And it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. So when you get to discussing it for action, we are recommending approval.
Is the owner or the applicant here tonight?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they signed up in support and not speaking. I don't know.
Do you have a card for them or no? Okay. Okay. Ideally, we want to have them here. That's kind of one of the things that we had said we wanted to institute as a kind of rule is that they should be here when we go over their stuff. So it's a little hard to know exactly what's the plan or have any questions answered without them here.
Sure. They do have a letter of intent, which does explain what they're trying to do. And again, the building is historically used that way. It already has a parking lot. It's already a commercial building. It just happens to still be zoned single family. So they're running into issues getting additional certificates of occupancy and signage for their business.
Any other questions, comments?
I want to make sure I understand the space. It is already like a multi-unit commercial building currently, judging by the letter of intent that they wrote, correct?
Yes.
And so they're not trying to actually put any additional structure. They're just trying to potentially bring in more businesses.
Correct. Yeah, it's been vacant for a really long time. There was that Mr. Belasia had some issues with the federal government, and they held it for a while, and that's all cleared. So now there's a new owner who'd like to use it.
Was the old owner like they should have done this to have been able to be doing what they were doing? So they were out of compliance, basically.
No, so the structure was built in the mid 90s, so it predated when we regulated land use like we do now through zoning. So it was in compliance, and then the city, when they adopted zoning, made it non-conforming, and again, not sure why.
So it grandfathered in, basically.
If the use never stopped, so if that same law office was still there, it would be a vested use. If
Then I move that we close the public hearing on agenda item number 1.
I second.
So we have a motion, probably second. Any questions on the motion? All right, hearing none, all yeas.
I think you might have to say who motioned and who second, right, for the recording.
No. All right. So motion by Commissioner Terry, second by Commissioner Ryan. Hearing yeas.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Agenda item number 2, to conduct a public hearing on a rezoning application for one lot on 3.75 acres, more or less, and being located at 14122 FM, 1100 Maynard, Texas, from SF1 single family suburban to C2 medium commercial. Get the background.
Sure. So this property, it's up 1100 north of 290, and again, it's owned single family from when the city annexed the property, back in probably like 2008, something like that, 2007. So back then, single family was the default zoning. After annexation, it was not ever really the city's intent that that area be used for single family, being on a FM 1100, which is a state highway. And with a comprehensive plan, this area this is designated for employment center, which is a mix of commercial, industrial, not residential uses. And so the request for C2 is compliant with the comprehensive plan and having that range of businesses and industrial uses for that area.
All right, we have comments. Mr. Robert Patai. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you got every other number on here. All right. We have Janet Sherman. Yes.
The property was my mother's and she sold it, and I lived that little section, the little square going to 1100. That's my home. And what they're wanting to do is open an event center. And that's going to include parties and music and drinking and other things like that. And all of 1100 are farms and residential areas. There's 3 houses down from me. There's a couple across the street. So that's all residential. It's all farm area. I was raised here on that property. So it's not any of it industrial or businesses. So I'm worried about, the road is a 2-lane road. So that's going to cause a lot of congestion on the weekends. And what am I supposed to do when the music's so loud and there's so much going on? There's families out there. We won't be able to sleep. We won't be able. That was my concern. Thank you. I don't know. I just got the
Commissioners, you have anything? Mm-hmm.
The applicant is here. I don't know if they may not have signed up, but they are here. I don't know if you want to speak with them or not. But. I can provide regarding the specific use as an event center. That is permitted by right under C2, medium commercial. Under C1, light commercial, an event center requires a specific use permit. So they would have to come back and then specifically ask to do an event center. And as with specific use permits, there can be certain restrictions on how the property is developed, how it's used. And then also in C1, there's a restriction on hours. And so if there's adjacent residential uses, they can only operate until midnight, which may be late, and that could be modified through a specific use permit. But under C2, those time restrictions aren't present. So yeah, a request for C2 would allow an event center to just happen. They would go through our processes and apply and get proper permits. But through C1, which you can recommend any lesser zoning, so you can do C1 neighborhood business kind of lesser commercial zonings, and those would require again that specific use permit to have the event center.
I do have a few questions for the applicant, if that's okay. The applicant, I had a couple questions. Thank you. Hello. Can you state your name for the?
Yes, my name is Rocio Velasquez.
Thank you. So thank you for submitting the letter of intent. I think that's clear. I did have a couple questions about kind of the, obviously an event center would would be great to have because we don't really have stuff. I mean, however, I'm just curious, kind of how much of a capacity would that fill? Like for like how many people would be at an average event there, do you think? And what would be the largest event that could be possible, like based on the size of the property?
Okay, so the size of the property is 3 acres, 0.75, which is, I think, a pretty good size for any type of event center. We're potentially thinking of something under 300 people just to have good setbacks from our neighbors and just trying to keep it not so much traffic, like the previous person said, just trying to keep it under 300 people. It could be less than that, but that's what we're potentially planning for.
And would it be indoor or outdoor or both?
So right now we're thinking of everything's gonna be indoors. With all the planning, we do plan on putting special foam insulation on the walls to help retain the noise and everything. But everything right now would be indoors.
And approximately how many employees, like how many people would be employed? Just a guesstimate of how many people you think would get employed from this.
Well, we're just starting out. We don't have much experience, but I think I don't have an exact number to give you, but maybe 10 to 15 employees.
Would you have like on-site food prep or like food catering and stuff like that, or would you be outsourcing those kinds of things probably at first?
I think it's in the plans to kind of have both, to be able to provide two options to whoever's coming to the venue. Either you want like, this is kind of what the menu for these certain caterers offer, or do you want to have like somebody else come and cater to your party?
Previously, you mentioned that you had looked at setbacks.
Mhm.
So, what type of setbacks in initial plans were you all expecting to have to the residential neighbors?
So I think our setbacks were, what we initially were looking at was like 20 from each neighbor. I think you're supposed to have, I think, 5 or 10 from each neighbor, but we were setting 20. If for whatever reason that's not permitted, then we can change it to have more space from the, kind of run it towards the back instead of the width of it, if that makes sense.
Is there currently anything on, like, any structures on the property?
There was a home there, but the home was a tear down.
So the expectation would be you all would be building a new.
Yes.
Okay. Do we know the parking requirements around 300, like, for event center specifically?
Yeah, so for event centers, it's one space per 100 square feet of event/assembly area. So that would cover indoor and outdoor areas if they're designated for the event space. So, yeah, 1 to 100. So without site plans, I wouldn't know like how many spaces it's going to be because it's not based off the number of people. It's based off how big this facility is.
Do you have an expected facility space estimation?
We kind of drew out some plans, but it's nothing set in stone right now. Just because we first wanted to come in and kind of see what setbacks are to be made, and then we will go from there. But I don't know exactly how many square feet.
So you drew up some plan, but you don't know what the square footage of that plan is that you drew.
We have that. I think it was 40 by 60. What we potentially drew out.
Okay.
So, but once again, we don't want to set anything in stone or get our hopes up for something this size, and then we have to kind of accommodate we would have to check with like a good architect or a good engineer to kind of figure out spacing and how much it's permitted to. Then we'll go based from there.
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, so in the planning and kind of procurement of this property, what led you to the middle of residential area instead of any other location in the city of Maynard?
So I think there's a lot of potential on FM 1100.
Mm-hmm.
Like Scott said, there is a lot of potential commercial, industrial coming in the next few years. So if I buy something in the outskirts of Maynard, that's what my pocket can afford. If I buy something inside the city limits, like right in the middle of the center of Maynard, then my pocket won't be able to buy a property that size. My neighbors she's right next door, like I think it's a few square feet away.
Mm-hmm.
But the other ones are acres away. And there's really, in front of us, there's no neighbors. It's all raw land. In the back of us, it's all raw land. Our nearest neighbors to our right side, if you're looking at the home from the front end, they're 2 lots down. And then besides my neighbor from the left, everything is raw land. On that same FM 1100, there is commercial already happening there.
Are there?
Well, I'm not sure exactly where on the FM 1100 you're talking about, but at least on the previous slide there, you can definitely see in that area and across the street, it's either agricultural or single family suburban.
Right in front of where the yellow is, there's commercial happening right there. I think there's kind of like somebody that fixes cars or something like that. They have a sign there that it's commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why our property, I think behind us there's nothing there, and then right next to us there's not a home there. To our right side there's not a home there. To the next lot, which is a few 100 feet away, that's where another home is at.
Okay. And so as we look at the development of these areas, there's a lot of pockets that are being gin up, for commercial or neighborhood business, downtown business, or kind of that multi-use area. Did you look at other areas in Maynard for this particular use, or this was the only spot that you looked at?
No, I did not look further out. That home came across us, and it said that it could potentially be rezoned, so that's why we were interested in that property.
I have a question for Scott.
Mm.
Are there plans to widen that road, or like, is that road going to be a main thoroughfare? Is that a county road? I believe it is. Are there plans to improve and widen the road?
It's state. It's TxDOT FM 1100. And there are plans on the city's thoroughfare plan that support it being like a major arterial as development goes out that way and occurs. The state, to my knowledge, doesn't have plans right now to do anything like imminently. It's just on the city's long-term like transportation plans.
What would your hours be? So like, would they have peak, we have traffic challenges in the city, and there's peak times, 8 a.m., the morning rush hour, the evening rush hour. Do you anticipate that your facility would be, coming up against that? Or do you anticipate that you would mostly be doing like nights and weekends kind of stuff?
I truly believe that it's going to be more like nights and weekends. Of course, if there's like an event that we have, potentially looking at the big part of it, that somebody wants to rent out, I don't know, a Thursday or a Wednesday for some meeting, or just kind of like a get together of some type of corporate or something like that, we would potentially be using kind of the mid of the week, but we anticipate just using weekends and kind of.
Any other comments, questions?
I'd like to move that we
Thank you.
close the public hearing on item number 3.
I second. Wait, that was item number 2. That was 2.
Item number 2.
Okay. I second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Leonard to close public hearing on item number 2. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Motion passes. Agenda item number 3, conduct a public hearing on the subdivision concept plan for Maynard Commons Northeast Commercial, 18 lots on 33.93 acres, more or less, and being located at the northeast corner of the intersection of US Highway 290 and FM 973, Maynard, Texas. Background.
Thank you. So this is the concept plan for Maynard Commons Phase 3. As I said, it's at the northwest corner of 290 and 973. It's in front of Greenberry. So there's basically a cell tower is the only thing on the property right now. So this is 17 commercial lots and 1 drainage lot that's right at the intersection there. There's some floodplain that goes through there that they're working with FEMA on modifying. This development is primarily pad sites along 290. They do have some larger tracts towards the back. The planned uses, it's retail, restaurant, hotel, maybe some office uses. It includes extending Murray Lane and then into the subdivision with public roads. So Greenberry would have additional ways to get out. Right now they only have the one Greenberry Drive. So this would provide another way to 290, and then it also connects over to 973. Where Maynard Commerce, which is part of the Maynard Crossing development, is, and they'll be installing a signal there, and so there'll be another access point into this commercial development that isn't 290. It'll be at 973. Basically, if you have any further questions.
No, not now. Mr. Robert, sorry.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Robert Bataille. There's a couple of interesting aspects to this project. One of which is this is owned by Barth Timmerman. Now, Barth Timmerman is a fixture on the community impact fees, and I find that to be a conflict of interest for a couple of reasons. One, we gave Barth Timmerman $9 million. I believe this is the project. How come we have to help these people pump their sewage? Can't they go to the bank and get a loan? And the answer is, of course they can. This is just another giveaway to one of our special friends. In fact, we just bought 4 parcels from him. I didn't see you guys very involved whatsoever. We spent $2.5 million. We bought 4 parcels over there on Ring Road. And for some completely unknown reason, we spent part of our parks money to put a sidewalk next to a street. That should have been in the public works budget. It shouldn't come out of the park funds. I mean, my God. So now when we give this guy $9 million, this is 33 acres. It says in our codes, if it's a commercial development over 10 acres, they are required to put a plaza in. Does anyone not understand what the word required means? Pardon me? What is a plaza? A plaza, that's a very good question. Now, in the rest of the world, the plaza is like a central meeting space. In Europe, they have plazas with big fountains and statues. Every city in Mexico has a plaza. In America, some people think a plaza is a shopping center. That's almost the exact opposite of it. It's a gathering spot. It needs to have benches, trees, artworks.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
All right, is the applicant here?
Representative with the applicant, yes.
Open any questions? Yeah, just to acknowledge that she's here. If you have any questions. All right.
This is a non-discretionary item, correct?
Correct.
Do we have any more details around how this is gonna look, or like, is there gonna be a plaza? What are the business, something more than just a map with a line around the edges of it? It's very hard to tell what's actually gonna happen there without any detail.
Sorry. So this is a concept plan. It's just creating the lots. So how the lots are actually developed comes later after like get platted and everything. And the way the code reads for the plazas is you have to have a 10-acre lot. This is a 33-acre development, but they're all getting subdivided less than 10 acres. And that site development requirement comes in when that lot is specifically developed. And it has to be 10 acres with 3 or more buildings, and so the buildings would be arranged to create that public space. So there wouldn't be a requirement on any of these properties for that, just because they're subdividing it into individual pad sites and slightly larger lots for potential hotels or maybe a small retail center. But yeah, so again, this is a concept plan just sort of lays out the general lot arrangement that they'll then go into preliminary plat, construction plans, which are administrative, and then final plats.
Do you have anything else?
Is Marie gonna be the only like roadway improvement that they're gonna be doing?
That connects out of Greenberry, yes. I mean, there's planned turn lanes and improvements on 290 and 973 that are through TxDOT, but there are city roads that'll be within the subdivision.
Will this be affected by the widening of 973 on that side?
The 973 right of way is there. They don't. When they expand it, they really shouldn't need additional right of way. But that's all. TxDOT's evaluating that right now. They have their realignment plans for south of 290, and they're looking at from 290 up to Taylor right now. So, but the right of way should already exist. So I think it's actually 200 feet of existing right of way that the 970 is already in.
Would Marie go all the way through to 290 and give Greenberry an alternate out?
Yes, it'll connect. So there's a small roundabout in the center, and you can take that either to 290, which will be a right in, right out. It won't be a full intersection, or you can take it over to 973, where it would be a full intersection that's signalized.
got a question. Why aren't you taking any?
I don't- Sir, you're not in order. Okay. Anything else, commissioners?
Yeah, we've got questions, but you won't even answer it. I'm leaving.
All right, just for everyone else, as soon as you walked in, there were cards. If you look at the agenda and you look at all the notes on the front and read those, it explicitly says if you want to speak, fill out a card, okay? And there are white cards, there are yellow cards, and then hand those over, and then we can probably acknowledge you, okay? Now, if you have a particular question, I'm giving you the opportunity to write it down and give to this young man. He's going to hand it to me. I'm going to look at it, and if it's on a current agenda item or one in the future, I will actually read it, okay? I'm going to give everybody that opportunity. But for everyone else, just know that is what the guidelines are, okay? If you have any questions, you can pose it to him, okay? All right. Anyone else? All right. Do we have action on it?
I move to close the public hearing for agenda item number 3.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Leonard, second by Commissioner Terry. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion passes. Agenda item number 4, conduct a public hearing on a revised subdivision concept plan for New Haven, 261 lots on 91 acres more or less, and being located near the intersection of Great Lane and FM 973, Maynard, Texas. Background.
All right. So this PUD, the zoning, you may recall, it just recently came before you all, and it was approved on April 3rd. So last month, the revised zoning was approved. And so this item, this concept plan, is revising their prior approved concept plan to be consistent with the now updated PUD. So the concept plan, it reduced the number of single family lots to 261, and it increased the park acreage and open space acreage a little bit. And so again, this, because of the modifications to the PUD, the changes were considered substantial under our subdivision code, and so they were required to go back and amend the concept plan and the preliminary plat that had previously been approved. So that's why these are before you tonight too.
All right, Mr. Patai.
Thank you. My name's Robert Bataille. Can we see the actual concept plan, please? Okay. Kind of hard to tell what's going on there. The main thing I'm concerned about, now this development has some good things going for it. Let me say that. And I like having this wildlife area. It's, the main thing that just drives me nuts is they've been talking about this for over a year, and we still don't know what the park's going to look like. And we still don't know, unless I missed something, if it's 10 parking places or 20. For a little while, it was 2 whole ping pong tables. And it was going to be some lights, and there was going to be parking back in there. They call these things active parks. Active to these people means like a 3-legged race or doing cartwheels. They talked about a volleyball court. Would you mind telling us where it's going to be? Why can't they design a freaking site plan that shows what a park looks like? I guess because they've been reading what our other consultants are doing, which is next to nothing. So the really good news is, of course, that they are paying the in lieu park fees. If a developer doesn't put in a park that's big enough to really be a park, they pay $550 into this fund that helps us, in theory, buy parkland somewhere else. Parkland is one word. Park land, 2 words, is a whole different concept. So Monarch Ranch, to the next of it there, they're trying to skate on those parkland fees. They should be paying 200,000+. Now here also we have a trail system with next to no parking places. What good is it to put in a great trail system throughout Manor and no parking places? Doesn't that seem a little silly? And no shuttles to connect them. Cap Metro.
Time.
Dang. All right, I'll save that for the county commissioners.
Thank you. All right, commissioners.
Are there any requirements around parking spaces around trails?
Yes, actually. When you all were considering the revised PUD, that was one of the requirements, was to have parking along the roadways that are adjacent to the trail and the nature preserve. And so those are being added. Those are part of construction documents, like when they submit like how they're going to build their streets. So they're building parallel parking spaces in those 2 areas. The parking lot in Park A is 10 spaces, and then in each of those 2 other areas, they can fit 5. So there's another 10 parking spaces that will be adjacent to the trail and the nature preserve. The other additional requirement that came with the revised PUD was those enhanced safety measures at the main intersection. So those are also being worked on.
In this, do they come back to us, or when those things are put into the construction plan, or are they just put into the construction plan? They have to be in accordance with the city ordinance, and they will handle that downstream.
Typically, construction plans are administrative. There is a modification to our standard roadway construction, which I believe is going to require that it comes through you all. That's still being worked through with engineers. It's been discussed quite a lot, but you may be seeing those construction plans if that variances comes through you all. But yes, so you could see it. Typically, again, as an administrative function, no.
When this came before, I think we had discussed having lights placed around some of the area to like deter any issues or crime, that like be able to kind of keep an eye on the parks and stuff like that. Will they be adding lighted areas?
Not as a requirement. That wasn't one of the forwarded recommendations, and nothing, and that wasn't approved by the city council. It was just the additional parking and the pedestrian safety measures at the intersection. The challenge with the lighting, at least for the regional trail area, is that is in the floodplain.
I have a question on the parking for the parkland. On the next item, there are additional sheets that aren't shown on this one that show some detail. Would it be advisable to show that on our board up there? And some explanation of what the pink items are in that diagram. Page 14 and 15 of the plans.
The applicant is here too, if you wanted to speak with them. The applicant's here if you wanted to speak with them. But yes, you are correct on the next item, which is the preliminary plat. They do have, it does show some, details on where that parking is and some of their park amenities, but it's small. There is a park plan that was reviewed when the preliminary plat last came before you all in January, and so their parks haven't changed.
Yeah, I thought it might be helpful for the audience if they could see that now rather than waiting to the next item.
I move that we close the public hearing for agenda item number 4.
A second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Leonard, second by Commissioner Neela. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public hearing item number 5. Conduct a public hearing on the revised subdivision preliminary plat for New Haven, 261 lots on 91 acres more or less, being located near the intersection of Grape Lane and FM 973, Maynard, Texas. Background.
So again, same item or same development as the prior item. This is the preliminary plat. They are filed concurrently, so they are before you concurrently. And this is consistent with the revised PUD and the concept plan that y'all just saw. It has fewer, about 7 or 8 fewer residential lots and additional parkland from the reconfiguration. They had modified their street layout, which made those changes, and again is why they were considered significant under the subdivision code and why they needed to refile the concept plan and preliminary plat.
All right, thank you. Mr. Patai.
Thank you. My name's Robert Bataille. Again, some good things happening in here. As I recall, the talk about the lights was, no, we don't want to put lights out in the nature trail. That's a dangerous sort of place. It's quasi-wild. But yeah, at the volleyball courts, at the ping pong tables, which at least 2 were planned. And these are like not little wooden tables. These cost $3 or $4 grand. They're like concrete ping pong tables. They last forever. We don't want the lights in the residents' eyes and faces. We want it secure. And so that was part of your concerns too. It's how much security around this little park area is there going to be. But we have a lot of window between 6 to 8 p.m., especially in the wintertime, where people like to go out and interact and have fun things to do. Most cities with parks put things in them, unlike Maynard. Also, just out of curiosity, 5 parking places for a trail? Are we expecting like 6 people or 8? Is that all day long? I'd like to propose that we, at the water tank there, I don't know if you can pull that one back up. There's a water tank to the south that we put about 10 parking places there as well. That's our land. Why not use it for some parking spaces there? It's just a water storage tank is what it is, folks. So also when we talk about, some of these zoning things, I think Scott Dunlap and I have different ideas about some of this. And sometimes what he will do is he will give you an agenda item that has like 25 or 26 items on, and you have 10 minutes to understand what it is. And that's where some of these parkland things have shifted. The plaza restriction has nothing to do with parcel versus development. It's the development, not the one little parcel. If that was true, they'd just suck it out of the development, give it a change of name, and skirt away without doing what they need to do to help build our community. We're trying to build our community. The developers, in a way, Tinkerbell's here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, we do have the applicant here, commissioners.
Is it possible to ask for lighting on the public park part of it, not the trail?
Not under these items, no.
But the applicant is here, so just a suggestion. I'm not sure who they are, but that would be really nice to see lights in the public areas where there's going to be parks and stuff. I know we've had issues with like some drive-by shootings, and you know, we've had some issues in my neighborhood in the park, and it would be really useful, I think, if there was lighted areas and people's cameras could actually catch things that are going on, you know, at certain times. That would be really useful if they had lights to help do that.
This is just for my personal knowledge, but is there a point where would it be at the point that the PID is developed that we require lights and like park areas and such, or at what point would that be a request that we could make?
That would under the PUD, like with the zoning, in the city council, they handle the PID, but there's a development agreement that already sort of lays out sort of what the enhancements from the PID are, which for this development is sort of the major collector roadway that they'll be building, some of the traffic enhancements, I believe the water line that they might be doing.
Thank you.
Can we get a message to the city council, like just letting them know that we would be interested, or is it too late to do that?
No, I mean the PID committee, this PID has not, it's been created, but in terms of the all the documents that go with it and levying assessments, issuing bonds hasn't happened yet. So there's still a lot of additional things that come with the PID. So there, I don't know all of the ins and outs of PID, so there may be the ability to have additional PID enhancements that could include, you know, lighting.
Okay, so I guess I will take it to email the council and just put that forward as feedback from our team. Do we all agree? Like, is that something that you guys would support if we ask them to do that?
All right, anything else?
My name is Brad Crowell. I'm the engineer on the project. We are proposing lights in the front end where the main park amenities are. I'm just not sure how far back those lights go, but we can definitely take a look at that. We are proposing lights where the main like playgrounds and ping pong tables are right now. So
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
I move to close agenda item number 5.
I second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ryan, second by Commissioner Terry. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. All of the following items on consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the P&Z Commission and will be enacted with one motion, excuse me. There will be no separate discussions of these items unless requested by the chair or commissioner, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and be considered separately. All right. Agenda item number 6, consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve the minutes of the April 10th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting session.
move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Leonard, second by Commissioner Terry. Oh, Commissioner Meyer. Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None? All right, motion passes. All right, regular agenda item. Number 7, consideration, discussion, and possible action of a rezoning application for one lot on 0.26 acres, more or less, and being located at 310 West Murray Street, Maynard, Texas, from SF1 single family suburban to NB neighborhood business. Scott.
Great, thank you. So yes, this is the one next to the Maynard ISD police station and Mr. Jim's, and behind Maxine's Gumbo House there on Murray Ave, right near 290. The owner, like I said, would like to use it as office space, which it was previously used as and is built for that. Just the zoning is inconsistent with that. But the future land use map and sort of the area generally does support neighborhood business, so we are recommending approval.
I'd like to move that we approve agenda item number 7.
I'll second.
All right, it's been motion by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Leonard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Agenda number 8, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a rezoning application for one lot on 3.75 acres, more or less, than being located at 14122 FM 1100, Maynard, Texas, from SF1 single family suburban to C2 medium commercial. We also have the applicant still here. Yeah. Scott?
Sure. So this is again the property. It's about a mile and a half, just under a mile and a half north of 290 on 1100. So the area is not very developed right now. There's interest in doing some developments over there. So as the years go on, we'll probably see more developments happening over there. And right now it is zoned single family, which was the default zoning after annexation. The agricultural zoning across the street from it is also default zoning after annexation. Just when we annex now, it's ag instead of single family. So they were just done at different times. The other properties over there across the street have non-annexation development agreements on them, which basically restrict them to one single family home. But if they wanted to develop, they would annex and have to zone. So pretty much that whole 1100 corridor from Kimbrough West south to 290 is either in the city or will come into the city, required to come into the city. And on the future land use map, this area is considered for employment center, which is supposed to be large campuses, industrial, commercial uses. So as we grow, as what we're trying to direct over there are those types of uses. I know our economic development director is really pushing to get some services over there, city water, city wastewater, to bring in those types of things. So this request for C2, it is consistent with the future land use map. Again, obviously it's not consistent with some of the adjacent uses right now, but as the area develops, it would become consistent if you follow along with the future land use map and how that recommends the area be used. So staff is recommending approval.
All right, Mr. Patai.
This is an agenda item.
Agenda item number 8.
We're not supposed to talk about it. That's how they changed the rules about 9 months ago. So you have to talk about all these in like 2 minutes to do it. That's the way they changed the rules to keep me from speaking. So So I appreciate that you will let me, if I can speak, of course I'd like to.
Come on.
I can? Thank you. Excuse me. This is the one for the event center, if I'm not mistaken. My name's Robert, by the way. Bataille. The applicants, they're nowhere close to being organized for this. I think they just want to flip this, get the zoning changed and flip it. She actually said an event center that's 40 foot by 60 foot. That's bigger. That's less than this room. Now that could be an event center. I've been an AV guy in event center. I worked at Silverado Country Club. We had eight rooms like this, meeting rooms. Each one had a .com PowerPoint thing. So I think an event center, we do want them, but they can't tell if it's open or closed. I mean, come on. I think that this kind of needs to be postponed. They need to rethink and come back finely tuned. Just because the comprehensive plan, that's a bunch of bogus BS, seems to think this is an employment center, that's a crock of baloney compared to what is kind of happening, you know. We can only force these things so much. In general, we want some great stuff there. That's why I wish the Planning and Zoning Committee would proactively anticipate what our, quote, new downtown looks like. And the way I envision it is in the center of the ETJ, which is a huge, huge 10 square miles. That's where we have a town plaza that's like a central little meeting place, town square, surrounded by our arts and cultural buildings, the Performing Arts Center, the Art Museum, the Rec Center, and all this. And then around that goes all these live, work, play boxes you guys like so much. And that's where an event center would fit really nicely. But what we need to do is we need to get our tails out of the duff and go find 60 or 80 acres and nail it down. And then let's invite these people to do that event center. Thank you.
Thanks.
So I forgot to add, as I mentioned earlier, you can approve or recommend to the city council a lesser commercial zoning. So you can say C1, which does require that specific use permit for the event center. And with this specific use permit, then you can get into more of how the business is operated or maybe how the site is arranged. With C2, that specific use isn't required. So how the site is arranged just falls on our codes, how much parking they need, buffers, and that, but it wouldn't come before you all. So that is an option for y'all if you wanted to consider, if this use wasn't something that you felt was consistent with the area, you can either zone it or recommend C1 light commercial, or you can modify the uses within C2 and actually remove event centers as a permitted use. And then they couldn't do it. But I might recommend, if you're inclined to do that, then maybe I would say C1, and then you can actually have a discussion about the event center as a specific use permit, and you have the discretion there, rather than just prohibiting it outright. But if that's what you wanted to do, you can do that as well.
I think I maybe potentially misheard, but what if we could ask the applicant again what the square footage of the planned event center is for 300 people? Because I think I did hear 60 by 42, but was that in meters potentially?
It was 120 by 40. It would potentially fit about.
You can come up to the front. Yeah.
It was potentially 120 by 40. That would potentially fit about 300 people.
So Scott, if I understand correctly, it can be approved as to C1, which would then allow not only this committee, but also the city council to have more discretion and more say in how whatever gets developed and is allowed by C1 to have a little more say on how it's done. Is that correct?
Yes, if the use under C1 requires a specific use permit, to do that use, they would have to apply and provide conceptual site plans and really any information that you all requested. And then you can put limits on it. You have a lot of more discretion over how the business is operated or how the site is laid out with that specific use permit. Under C2, that requirement isn't there. So dropping it to C1, they would have to do a specific use permit for an event center.
Because it looks like for C2, there's a list of, 50 different things. Some are conditional, some are permitted. But C1 would allow the same types of things generally, but just with a little more restriction, a little more say. Is that correct?
Yeah, so light commercial, it has a shorter list. The uses are a little more restricted under C1, but event center is still a listed use, but one that requires a specific use permit.
Thank you. And just so it's clear for everybody, right now, as of today, it's just a zoning change, not any site plan approval or anything like that, correct?
Correct. It's the discussion of the use for the property. If it's commercial, if you want to zone it C2, you would be, if you were to recommend C2 and that were approved, you'd be approving all of these listed uses, not just an event center. It's really anything that's allowed under C2 and how it's developed.
I'd like to make a motion that we deny item number 8.
Can I ask a question?
Hold on.
Oh,
There's a motion. Not yet. Do we have a second? We have a second. Do we have a second? All right. No second on that motion.
Can he withdraw his motion and then we can talk?
Yes, that was the next thing.
I withdraw the motion.
so if we approve for C1, would we have to deny this? Or can we just approve for a C1 translation?
No, you could just approve. You can recommend C1. You don't have to deny the request for C2. You would just say you motion for C1. You want, you don't have to, there's no denial. It's just a modification of the request.
Then what happens after that? So how do they, like, if it, what is their next step if we do that?
Sure. It goes to the city council with your recommendation for C1. It still would be, on the agenda and presented as C2 because that's how the request was made. And the city council can, approve your request for C1. They can approve it as C2 as the original request. They can deny. They can, they have all of their powers they can do. But yeah, it would just be forwarded to the city council as light commercial instead of medium commercial.
And we can also suggest anything else like neighborhood business, there too. It doesn't have to be a lower commercial. It can be anything lower.
It has to be a less intense commercial use, which is only going to get you probably, light commercial neighborhood business or general office.
The reason I say this is because I definitely think the road is 2 lanes and the amount of traffic that would generate potentially from a 300 person event and just the stress that could come to residents having to deal with that would be, I don't know if I would be in favor of that. Because as someone who lives on a 2-lane road that gets backed up because of traffic and big things happening, I definitely can relate to not wanting to add more traffic on roads that can't handle it. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I think it's a good thing. We definitely need this, and we want small businesses in our town, and we want to see local people, succeeding. So I don't think it's a flat out denial for me. I just think it needs a lesser zoning than a C2. I'm leaning more toward neighborhood business, and then maybe going back later and doing C1 once there's other development there to support. But I don't know if going straight out here with this piece of property being kind of the first ones to really go that heavy in the neighborhood, it could be a little disruptive.
I don't know if this is the forum, but I can also, I really appreciate the fact that this is going to be like a Manor owned business, and I think we see a lot of like larger developers come in here, and so my 2 cents on the subject is that I honestly think that Manor itself like needs like an event center. You can imagine like people here having weddings, graduations, and I don't know if we always can wait for, roads for, because I think with the roads will come with more people coming, and potentially, are we waiting for like a larger developer to come in and open a business where they can afford to like expand roads, or do we go with Manor-owned businesses first?
Can you speak up, please?
Or do we, because a larger developer would have the funds to expand roads, but we can't just focus on larger developers. We have to focus on Manor owned businesses and businesses owned by residents here. Is really important. I don't know how everyone else is feeling. I would be in support of like potentially like a C1 zoning, and then we can see site plans, and at the site plan stage we can determine, things will be more clear as to the amount of people that will be like invited to the event center, and it will give us more like control at that stage, while still like allowing like the free flow of business.
I'm reminded that there is a property owner next door to whatever would be placed here, regardless of whether it was C1, C2, or whatever. Once you've zoned it as C1, whatever is allowed under C1 is going to come and affect the neighborhood.
All right, any discussion, any action? Go ahead.
Can I move that we approve agenda item number 8 with the recommendation that the rezoning is to C1?
I second that.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ryan, second by Commissioner Terry. This is to approve for a C1 light commercial in lieu of the C2 medium commercial. All right. Any questions on that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Opposed. All right. So,
I think it's a tie.
yes.
The motion fails if there's a tie.
Yeah, it failed. It is Commissioner Meyer, Commissioner Leonard, Commissioner Chavis. All right, agenda item number 9, consideration, discussion, and possible action on the subdivision concept plan for Maynard Commons Northeast Commercial, 18 lots on 33.93 acres, more or less, and being located at the northeast corner of the intersection of US Highway 290 and FM 973, Maynard, Texas. Scott.
Sure. So this this concept plan has been approved by our engineers, so we're recommending approval. With it being a subdivision, it's non-discretionary. Again, it is a commercial subdivision with 17 commercial lots and 1 drainage lot, and some city streets that would connect Greenberry, a second connection to 290, and a new connection to 973. If you have any questions, help you out.
Which lot is the drainage lot?
It's the one right at the intersection, the very corner of 290 and 973. There's some, I don't know if it's a creek, but quite a bit of drainage that flows from the properties north of there and goes through it. They're actually going to have a small little bridge, or maybe it's just a really large box culverts for their road that connects to 973. And that water, it flows under 290. It's what goes through Timmerman Park. So it's that same drainage way.
Would each of the lots on 973 require some kind of drainage structure or culvert or whatever to go across the drainage area?
The lots that are on 973 won't have access to 973 because of the significant amount of drainage that's there. So the developer, they'll have regional detention, so each lot wouldn't need to have their own detention ponds. That'll all be handled, for the whole property itself. But yeah, those pad sites there that are on 973, they connect to it because they're required to have frontage on a public right of way. But when they're actually developed, they'll only be accessed, internally or from the city streets that are built as part of the subdivision.
Kind of like joint use driveways?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I move that we approve it. Oh,
We have Mr. Mike Hoffman.
okay.
Want to speak? Yep.
My wife was here, but she didn't like the way things were going, so she left. I frankly didn't know the procedure when I came in here that I had to fill out that little card in order to speak. So that's why we were going at it in that. Anyway, we are homeowners in the Greenberry subdivision, and we're looking right out on this cornfield. And she was concerned about what type of businesses are going to be there. Is it just regular commercial?
That's the intent. The property is zoned C1, light commercial, so it provides
Light commercial, like
yeah.
office buildings or
Uh,
7-Elevens or?
So office requires a specific use permit, so they'd have to have special approval to do office, medical there. It really is just retail, restaurants, hotel, financial institutions like a bank.
What she was concerned about is like, we look out and we're going to be looking at the back of these commercial buildings,
There's a
dumpsters and whatever.
Sure. There's a requirement. There's a minimum 25-foot buffer yard between any of the commercial developments and the residential that can't have anything in it except for a bunch of trees, like evergreen trees. So as those properties develop, they'll have to install those, and so that will help buffer to as much extent as vegetation can the uses. So you may not see it directly as it grows in, but you know, if it's a 4-story hotel, you'll still see that. But there is a requirement for at least some
So is
vegetative
there like a
buffering.
noise ordinance or something? that goes along-
The city has a noise ordinance. Yes.
I mean, they wouldn't have any bars in there or what?
Those would be permitted. Alcohol sales are regulated. They can't be within 300 feet of a church, school, hospital, or daycare, but none of those are present. So a bar would be a permitted use within the development.
They'd probably stay within within the building. So yeah.
There's a
Sorry, your time's up.
I'll answer. Sorry.
Tinkerbell.
There's a requirement if the commercial use is established after the residential use, they can only operate until midnight. There is an exemption if you're on 290. So those pad sites there would be able to operate later hours, but there are lots that are not directly on 290. So those ones may be limited in hours, but it's still midnight. So.
Well, thanks for your time. I can't believe there aren't more homeowners coming up here to ask questions to you. It's kind of a big deal for us. So thanks.
Thank you.
So this is non-discretionary, so right? This is a requirement for us to vote. So with that in mind, I move that we approve agenda item number 9.
Second.
All right. It's been properly moved by Commissioner Leonard, second by Commissioner Neela. Any questions? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. Passes. Agenda item number 10. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on a revised subdivision concept plan for New Haven. 261 lots on 91 acres, more or less, and being located near the intersection of Great Lane and FM 973, Maynard, Texas. Scott.
So this is filed to be in compliance with the revised PUD that was approved last month. And with the modifications to the street layouts that triggered the need to refile their concept plans and preliminary plat. And so that's what's before you. It has been approved by our engineers, so we are recommending approval.
All right. We have Travis Janik. Yes.
I'm Travis Janik. I'm with the developer. I just signed that piece of paper just in case I needed to talk. So maybe
You said you will speak. So.
yeah. So
All right.
we're just bringing this one in the next agenda item. Pretty much in compliance with the PUD y'all approved. So that's all I got.
All right. Thanks.
Can we combine these two if we wanted to, since they're related?
No, I'll just vote on it separately. Yeah.
I'll move that we approve agenda item number 10.
I second.
All right. For agenda item number 10, it's been moved by Commissioner Meyer and second by Commissioner Terry. All right. Any questions? All right. In favor?
Aye.
All right. Opposed? Hearing none. Agenda item number 10 passes. Agenda item number 11, consideration, discussion, and possible action on revised subdivision preliminary plat for New Haven, 261 lots on 91 acres more or less and being located near the intersection of Great Lane and FM 973, Maynard, Texas.
Sure. So this is related to the prior item. This is the preliminary plat that's filed concurrently with our concept plan. And again, it's to be consistent with the concept plan that you all just approved and the PUD that was approved in April.
I move that we approve item number 11.
I second.
All right, it's moved by Commissioner Meyer and second by Commissioner Ryan. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda item number 11, motion passes. Item number 12, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a specific use request for one lot on 1.273 acres, more or less, and being located at 13105 FM 1100, Maynard, Texas, to allow for that includes a 14,020 square foot general retail Mexican market building, 6 MPDs, 3 diesel MPDs, and associated parking and drive hours.
Sure. So this item, it came before you all last month, and it was postponed in part due to wanting some more information about roadway improvements. The applicant has had some discussions with TxDOT, and they've provided an updated site plan that includes some of their proposed roadway improvements to 1100 as well as 290. So I'll just recap. At the April 10th meeting, when it was postponed, recommendations were still provided, which were to turn the canopy 90 degrees and have it on the side of the building, to remove the diesel pumps, add electric charging stations, prohibit overnight truck parking, and then having more information on those traffic improvements. The applicant, they complied. They moved the gas canopy to the side, added the EV charging stations. We'll have no overnight parking signs, and are showing some of their preliminary traffic improvements, which include adding a third lane to FM 1100, in addition to the deceleration and acceleration lanes. They did increase the number of gas pumps from 6 to 8 and the diesel pumps from 3 to 4. The discussion with the additional improvements to 1100, the concerns with the removing the diesel was having the large vehicles on 1100 because the road maybe was too narrow for the turning, and not having the turn lanes and just causing the traffic. And the applicant, who is here tonight, a representative of the applicant is, with the traffic improvements they're proposing, they would still like to request or to keep the diesel pumps because they feel that the traffic improvements, the trucks would be able to maneuver and wouldn't impede traffic significantly. So just know that request from you all to remove the diesel wasn't complied with. They did keep the diesel pumps, and they actually added an additional one and then two additional gas pumps. Within our code, you can have up to 10 gas pumps on US 290, so they're still below that amount. Here with a specific use permit, you do have the discretion to modify that. The code does outline, though, that you can't have more than 10 unless modified that by this SUP. But for informational purposes, the code kind of outlines that 10 is generally where we want to limit fueling stations on 290. But yes, so if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer those. And again, the applicant is here.
I have 2 questions. The first question is on the diagram. There's a grayed out area on the corner. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. So filed concurrently with this specific use permit was also an annexation request for that 1.2 acres, as well as the zoning, which the zoning for C2 was recommended, and that's pending with the city council now. The applicant may pull their annexation request if they don't, if they don't receive the specific use permit, or if it's not viable to move forward with, they may not proceed with the annexation. So they've modified the site plan with that contingency that it's sort of duplicate though, because they are complying and requesting it, but then they kind of show that area left out. So there's still discussions about with the annexation continuing, or if it remains out, and maybe that's a future development in front of the gas station. But if it remains outside the city in our ETJ, it would be unregulated. The zoning, what we discussed with the applicant, if they do pull their annexation, they'd have to refile the zoning because the acreages would be modified. It would be a different request, or the same use, or same for C2, but so we sent out public notices saying it's going to be a 12-acre tract, and now it's going to be a 10.5-acre tract. We want to make sure that we're just being consistent with the process. So in the instance that the annexation is pulled, the zoning would likely come back before you all again. But that's what that gray area is. It just represents an area that's being annexed.
Is in that gray area, is that they're showing the existing structure?
Yes, that is the existing home.
Second question was, I'm not sure where the electric charging stations are located. Is that shown on these plans?
It is. It's just north. Your page is turned, so there's 3 little parking spaces at the top part of the development of the pavement, next to their dumpster enclosure, kind of not directly behind the building, but just off to the side, back of the building there. There's 3 parking spaces, and those are the EV charging spaces.
So there would be 3 EV charging ports.
Yes, as they've shown. The number wasn't specified on how many they should have, so they've provided 3.
I would just like to say thank you for listening to our guidance and trying to work with us on a lot of these requests. And we really appreciate a lot that you've done in terms of the canopy moving, the EV. I mean, she was just saying there's not another EV in 20 minutes from here. So that's actually really great. And no overnight parking, and also the traffic improvements. And really appreciate all of that work that you did to get this to be a lot more reasonable of an item. So thank you.
Okay, so looks like a good 4 out of 5 though, right? So from the last meeting recommendation, I think it was Commissioner Meyer, about the diesel pumps being removed, and then come into this one, and then we have diesel pumps increased. And so there's some type of conversations or something that happened between last meeting and this meeting that came to that decision. And so the applicant, they're here, right? Yes. Yeah. So can come and explain that to us.
Yeah, my name is Mirza Tahir Beg, and we're representing the owner on this one, and we are civil engineers. So basically, based on the discussion with the developer, we're providing a central lane along FM 1100 and the deacceleration lane. So that will help the improvement on FM 1100. Based on the size of the improvement, our client decided to increase the number of pumps and the diesel, but if the city council can approve with the same behavior in the past, we should be fine. And honestly, I can tell you, If the city council is not going to approve this gas station with the diesel pump, our client intention is to the shaded area which is in the ETJ. We can get that thing out and still he can build it, but the thing is it's going to cost him a little bit more money dealing with the Travis County. So that's the reason we want to annex this thing, so we don't need to deal with the Travis County, just with the city. So that's our intentions. So I think I recommend, yes, we're doing a lot of improvement along both the highways with the central lane, and we're doing a full TIA based on the tax dot recommendation. So if you guys can approve this thing with the diesel canopy and the gas station, yeah. And he has nice looking C stores and the retail. I can give you a couple of examples. He has a big truck stop right now on Page on Highway 290 and 71, and these are the same developers. So they don't build a small store, they build like big stores with the Mexican market and the retails here. And if you guys have any question, I can answer you.
Can you just speak very quickly to the upgrades that are happening to not the 290 road side, but is it just one extra turn? What?
Well, if you look at on FM 1100, if you want, I can go close to the map and I can refer it more.
Any comments? Questions?
I would say it would be hard to um, approve increased diesel from the last round of, of submission. So I think, and really the regular pumps too, because to our point last time, there are a lot of gas stations in the area. And more pumps equals more trucks. So I'd be inclined to vote for it, but I would keep the original request of 6 gas pumps and 3 diesel pumps and not accept the increase.
All right, any other comments, questions? All right, just for the benefit, if you are so inclined to recommend approval for this specific use permit, then the number of gases and gas and diesel pumps recommended must be in the motion.
Would all of the other stuff need to be in the motion too?
Yes, thank you. The prior ones that they've met, so the canopy and the electric charging stations, there's no overnight truck parking, those 3. Thank you. You can also, if you wanted to, you can say it, as the approved on the site plan, minus or with the modification to those number of fueling stations. But you can also, that would sort of lock them into maybe don't do that, because that might be difficult if they needed to shift their site a little bit as they go into full engineering. So maybe just list what you would like. Thank you.
All right, any action?
move that we approve agenda item number 12.
Is that
All
with,
right. Well,
is that with
in
conditions? Like,
yeah.
As
in this motion, you have to specify.
Oh.
Right. Number of gas pumps, number of diesel pumps, and if there are any variations to what is shown on that site plan.
So it'll be what's in the background summary, correct?
I'm not sure what your motion will be.
My goal is, my intent is to approve it as it has been updated with the additional tanks with the changes to the lines, or how the canopy was stationed on the gas station, but primarily with an issue that they requested to add more pumps for the gas and diesel.
Okay, so then that would include the now 8 gas and 4 diesel.
Correct.
Is this inclusive of the EV stations too?
Yeah, they would have the as based on the site plan, they have the two EV stations listed, as well as the no overnight parking for trucks.
Yeah, so that you have to state that. Yeah.
I'll second.
Wait, what's the motion? Let's get that. You can get that on the record. All right.
I'll second the motion with.
Wait. You gotta say the motion first.
Let me do this. Let me go ahead.
Go ahead.
To respect the other's time, I'm going to withdraw my motion at this present time. And,
I'll make the motion that we approve item number 12 with the gas canopy EV charging stations, overnight parking and traffic improvements being shown, keeping the diesel pumps, increasing the gas pumps to 8, the diesel pumps to 4, with the 3 EV stations and with no overnight parking, as requested in the previous last month's meeting.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Meyer to include what is in this specific use permit, the documentation that has the 8 gas pumps, now 4 diesel pumps. Both were increased from 6 to 8 and 3 to 4, and includes the 3 electric charging stations to the north and the south, the north of the site, and the canopies included. No overnight parking. Any questions on that motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed?
Nay.
Nay. All right, we have 2. All right, Commissioner Leonard, Commissioner Chavis. Motion passes. All right, thank you. Agenda item number 13. Good. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on a final plat for the Shadow Glen subdivision phase 3, section 2. 164 lots on 45.32 acres, more or less, and being located near the intersection of Great Manor Road and Rector Loop, Manor, Texas. Scott.
Sorry. Yes, so this is going into phase 3 of Shadow Glen. It is over there on Rector Loop and Fox Grove, so on the west side of Wheelbarger Creek. and it's 164 lots, which is 159 single family lots and 5 open space drainage lots. Their traffic mitigations, they're all through Travis County. All the roads there are Travis County's, so Rector Loop, Fox Grove, and that portion of Greg Manor. What they've agreed to, with Travis County is provided there in your summary form. Just about 1.7 million towards the county using towards future roadway projects in the area, as well as some turn lane improvements and signal improvements that the developer would be installing with this section, as well as section 1, so phase 3 section 1, which was previously approved, I believe, at the last meeting. And this has been approved by our engineers, so we are recommending approval.
This is non-discretionary, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I move to approve agenda item number 13.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Leonard, second by Commissioner Neela. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Agenda item number 14, consideration, discussion, and possible action on adjoining lot affidavit for lots 3 and 4, block 35, town of Manor, and being in the 600 block of Samarapa Street, Manor, Texas.
Sure. So this property, it is. Sorry about that. It is 2 lots. One of the lots is not a full lot though, because of the way the original plat for the city was. So there's that, north-south line, and then there's Hamilton Point, which was a different subdivision. And so one of the lots is, a standard 50 by 115, and the other is a portion of that. And so this property owner, they purchased the adjacent home, and that came with these 2 other lots. So they purchased all 3 lots together, and they would like to construct a new home on this lot, but because one of them is essentially undevelopable unless it's, they could leave it, but they wanted to combine it so then they can sell it, and whoever purchases it has a slightly larger lot than is typical.
Any questions?
And what's the zoning on these lots already?
It's single family, SF1, so they'd be able, with it being combined into one lot, they can construct one home.
Is this the outlined area on the map?
Yes, it's in the center there, the red outlined. So that's the 2 properties together.
I move that we approve agenda item number 14.
A second.
All right, agenda item number 14, motion made by Commissioner Leonard and second by Commissioner Terry. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 15, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a setback waiver for lot 2, block 15, town of Manor, located in the 400 block of East Cary Manor, to allow a 20-foot front setback, 10-foot rear setback, and 5-foot side setback. Scott.
Sure. Ooh, sorry. This property and then the next item, they're related. It's the same owner purchased both lots, and so they're requesting a setback waiver, which is typical for the lots here in town that are 50 by 115. to accommodate our required like minimum home size, 1,500 square feet with a 2-car enclosed garage and a 100 square foot covered or uncovered rear patio. The and then also to not exceed 40%, or help them not exceed 40% lot coverage, but we reduce the setbacks. Typically it's 25 on the front and back and 7.5 on the sides. But that's when you have a 70-foot wide lot. So if you're plotting a new subdivision, you make the lots a little bigger. So it's, you know, instead of 50 feet wide, it's 70 feet wide. They usually have a little bit more depth to them. And so the setbacks are designed for those larger, newer platted lots. And this being, you know, part of the original plat of the city, the lots are 50 by 115. And so we have the process within our code that they can apply for a setback waiver, so they can still construct a code compliant home, and not have to get, you know, a half dozen variances or so through the Board of Adjustment. And this is a typical process. We usually see these, you know, every couple months or so.
Questions, comments?
I move that we approve item number 15.
A second.
All right. It's been motioned by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Neela. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Agenda item number 16, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a setback waiver for Lot 3, Block 15, Town of Manor, located in the 400 block of East Cary Manor, to allow a 20-foot front setback, 10-foot rear setback, and 5-foot side setback. Scott?
Sure. So again, same property owner as the earlier request, same rationale for their request. It will help them when they move to construct that single family home.
I move to approve agenda item number 16.
I second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Leonard, second by Commissioner Ryan. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. Item number 17, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a coordinated sign plan for 10,800 through 10,804 US Highway 290 East, and being lots 1 and 2, Block A, Lassa Enstrada North 9,900 subdivision.
So this coordinated sign plan is only for the pylon sign for these proposed businesses. They're leaving the attached wall sign up to standard code. So the reason for it is they're putting 2 businesses on 1 pylon, and so technically for the business that would be advertising that isn't on the property that the lot is located on, which is the Lone Star Cash car title one. To have that offsite signage is also part of the same development subdivision. They do a coordinated sign plan, and it allows for basically a multi-tenant pylon. And it is consistent with code. And so we're recommending approval. The only modification, if you choose, is they have the sign shown 15 feet from their property line. We typically require signs because they're considered permanent structures, and we don't allow permanent structures within setbacks. Their setback is 20 feet, so they have it a little bit closer than normally would be permitted, which you can authorize through this coordinated sign plan. If you wanted to, you know, keep it consistent with, you know, single tenant users and the like, you can say, hey, your sign is, the design and height, square footages are approved, but keep it out of setbacks. But again, if they here show, you know, it's 32 feet off the edge of pavement, it's 15 feet off their property line. You know, they're not trying to put it, you know, within Texas right away. It's just 5 feet closer than typical.
What are potential downsides of this 5 feet distance? Is it any danger if cars being off 290?
Very no different than the 5 feet. It's pretty marginal. I was just it's highlighting it that was a variation from standard code. It is in their landscaping setback, so that 15 feet is generally reserved for just trees. So it would be part of that area.
This is just maybe potentially in the back of my mind only because we just had the crazy windstorms. Is there any concern with the height of it falling into the 290?
No, I mean the sign is 25 feet and it's 32 feet off. I mean the wind can move it. If it falls straight down, it shouldn't. But that is we have design standards that they're supposed to withstand to a certain amount. If you get a EF1 tornado, who knows? I mean, the signs that were damaged with that last storm were older, much older signs, including the sign that this one is replacing. So.
The salad business would have its own sign.
Sorry, what was the question?
The third business there, the Salad and Go, would be signed separately.
Yes, they're planning a monument sign at their entrance on Greg Manor.
I'm sorry, say it again.
They're planning a monument sign at their entrance on Greg Manor. So there's a shared access drive that runs behind these businesses, and Salad and Go is placing their signage there.
I move to approve agenda item number 17.
I second.
All right, it's moved by Commissioner Leonard, second by Commissioner Ryan. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right. It's been moved by Commissioner Leonard, second by Commissioner Meyer. It's 8:39 p.m. We are adjourned.